I had my second ace, and so I love Pinehurst. It's a great spot.
You got it on number two?
No, I wish I would have just liked to have a two on two.
I know, get the deuce coin.
To get the
Yeah.
coin. Yeah. But no, I had it on the cradle, and me and my wife were playing. I had it that morning, and then our sons came down that afternoon, and our youngest Eli, he made one. So we both had one on the same day, and even though it's a par three, it still counts in my book. So
It does.
Hey, if they celebrate and count the number of hole in ones they have, you get to count it.
That's right.
All right, welcome to the Whole Story Podcast. This is Robby, and I'm joined with Jonathan. I'll tell you where he is in a second, but as we get started real quick, we are going to do a social media contest through Best Ball. So follow at Golf Best Ball on all the social media platforms. We'll be posting this thing Thursday, so when this episode comes out, we will be talking about it, but we are going to give away some Open Championship stuff. I got a flag, we got a hat, a koozie, I think, and we'll give away some best ball gear as well. So you'll see the details in the social media stuff, but it's gonna be fun. We'll do it for a couple weeks and give it away right before the Open Championship. So Jonathan, you are not at home. You've got some stuff in the background. Where are you right now?
So, I think it's now the third time we're taking Best Ball International. Before we started the Whole Story podcast, I was in Cabo, which is, if you've been listening, it's where my love of tacos on a golf course began. And we had Kenya already. So I feel like I'm living in the future. It is 5:30 a.m. on July 4th, and I am in Shillong, India, Meghalaya. It's called the Scotland of the East. And I'm going to flip my camera here if I can and show you a little bit of the little road that I'm on just outside of my hotel. And you may be thinking, that doesn't look like Scotland in any way, but let me show you. If you come inside the gate here, if you'll notice that this right here is where all the lush green tee fields come in. And this is literally just sort of the courtyard of where we're hanging out for the week. So we'll probably make sure to share some things. Next week, my plan is to actually come live and in living color from the Shillong golf course. It's a natural golf course that I'm telling you, if you're a golf fan, you're going to be like, that doesn't even make sense. So it should be a good time.
That is awesome. Well, yeah, it'd be fun to follow along your adventures there. You'll be sure to add some stuff on social and show everything off. So golf in India, right? Somebody's got to show it off.
There is sort of golf in India. It's more like picnic in India. Most of the golf courses used for picnics, and the actual greens are surrounded by a fence. So, but I'm hoping, I got a buddy of mine that's trying to set it up, so maybe I can go play a hole or two. So we'll get some video and see if we can get that set up.
Very nice. Well, this weekend, Jonathan, Rocket Mortgage Classic on the PGA, a guy we've been pulling for, Ricky Fowler, got it done in the playoff hole. How awesome was that? Were you able to watch that in India, or?
I was able to watch some of the
earlier
replays
for our time. Yeah.
Now watch some of the replays, and once again, I can't keep track of how many times it's gone down to playoffs. I mean, you've got guys shooting incredible scores, and at the very end of it all, there's still two or three. And I think Rory's response was probably the only response you can have. It seemed to be just absolute relief that I can still do this. I can still win at the highest level, and I couldn't be happier for him. I don't know him, obviously, but he seems to be just a top-notch guy, and like I said, someone you'd always want to root for.
Yeah, absolutely. So when he hit that shot in regulation, you thought the last few holes he'd miss some putts and stuff. And when he almost put it in the water, 18 on regulation, but when he hit that approach shot, to me, it reminded me of when he won the Players a few years back, and he was just throwing darts on 17, and they went to the playoff. I think Sergio was in it, but when he threw that shot in there and made the birdie putt, you're like, he's got to be able. But it was awesome. But another thing, we track great golf stories, awesome golf highlights. Max Homa, another favorite of the show, on his final round, got a hole in one on 15 during the championship. So a lot of fun. But other golf news, they had the senior U.S. Open, Bernard Langer, somebody that you have heard of before. He's got a master's jacket, but this guy is 65 years old. He won his 12th senior Champions Tour major. And he also, Jonathan, 46 now PGA Champion Tour wins, which is most all time. So 65 years old. I think his caddy told him that the average age of the winners on the Champions Tour is 52, so a young 52, and he's just still going. So good job for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it just goes to show that, you know, it's like old man basketball at the Y. Old man golf, you can still put it in the fairway, make your short shots and make your putts, and you can still be competitive no matter what.
Absolutely. And another tournament that we're we got a favorite or we enjoy Pinehurst. Jonathan, you'll have to go actually enjoy it with me there, but
that's right.
We do enjoy Pinehurst. And when we were talking with Alex before just about all the events that they have, they had the North and South amateur championship there this past week. Nick Dunlap, who's a sophomore in Alabama, won it. I was following along on social media. I was able to stream some too. They put it online and they were streaming it. So, they got to play number 2 a number of times, and Nick Dunlap goes away with the win there. And then finally, coming up this week, the ladies, the LPGA is playing their U.S. Open, and they're playing it at Pebble Beach for the first time. So it'll be a lot of fun. You know, a lot of those players, I'm sure they've seen it or played it, but playing it in a tournament for the first time. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch. But, well, Jonathan, why don't you tell us about who our guest is this week?
Yeah, we've got a guy that's doing some really interesting things in the golf world. That's really stuff that I've never heard of before. Joey Denton, for those of you who are Gamecocks fans in South Carolina, you might remember his name because he played golf down there for a little bit. But he's got a golf links where basically he goes into local golf clubs and find ways for guys to hang out, talk about life, and see what Jesus can do in the middle of that. So hear his story, incredible ways to get involved. And if you've got a golf course, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that might be interested, please make sure to check it out.
All right, our guest today on the Whole Story podcast is Joey Denton. Jonathan, let me introduce him real quick. He's a friend of Wayne Ridgway, so hopefully our listener is still listening after we make that connection. Joey played golf at University of South Carolina, go Gamecocks, 91 to 95. He was a coach of the men's and women's team at Belmont Abbey. So he's got coaching experience, playing experience. At one point owned 2 golf retail stores. I think did lessons. I think he trained players and stuff. Was a church planter and a pastor as well. And now is an area director of North and South Carolina for Lynx Players. So Joey, we welcome you to the Whole Story podcast.
Thanks, guys. Great to be with you.
Yeah, Joey, first of all, knowing the history of all this, it's incredible just in terms of being around golf, ministry, that kind of stuff. But I personally didn't start playing golf till basically I met Robby at like 28, 29. Sounds like you might have started a little bit earlier. When did you start picking up clubs and swinging them in the backyard?
Yeah, sure. So my dad was a really, really good player. We played at the municipal course here in town in Gastonia. And I would go out with him some, but I also played baseball. And I was 12, shortstop and a pitcher on the Little League team, made the All-Star team, and never left the bench for the tournament. And I said, in my little 12-year-old, I know everything self. Forget this. I'm going to play something that I can play. And so I started playing all the time around 12.
Yeah, my son just started. He was not a Little League All-Star, though. So he's behind the curve on a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Did it come naturally to you? Because obviously, I mean, we already mentioned you kept going into the golf world. So it must not have been a struggle from the very start.
We recently moved, and when you move, you discover things that you forgot you had. And so I ran across a box with some old clippings and stuff like that. So I think when I was in the 9th grade, which back then was junior high school, I was shooting in the 30s and 40s, and then progressively got a little better. And then my junior year in high school was when things really clicked and started posting some good scores and having a little bit of junior success.
How'd you end up at University of South Carolina? And I'm excited to have you on as a fellow Gamecock. But how did you end up moving from North to South Carolina?
Well, see, that is one of my favorite stories to tell, Robbie. So, where I'm from, where I graduated high school from, James Worthy graduated from the same high school, and he went on to play at North Carolina. Then, obviously, with Showtime and the Lakers, and so I was a huge Tar Heel fan growing up, big time. And was fortunate enough to qualify for the U.S. Junior in 1989, 88, 89, somewhere in there, and was in California, not too far from LACC, where they just completed the U.S. Open. And I was playing, and there was 4, 5, 6 coaches following me. And after the round, they came up and, hey, good playing, we'll be in touch, that kind of thing. Back then, the NCAA was not as uptight about recruiting, especially, in golf.
Here's a 20. We'll call you later.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And one of the coaches was the coach in North Carolina. And he was the last one to speak to me. And man, I was excited to talk to him. And he stuck out his hand and introduced himself to me. And he said, I just want you to know, I am not interested in recruiting you. I'm just out here visiting with some of my fellow coaches and friends. And I didn't want you to think I had any interest in you. And you walked away. And if there was ever a moment where love turned to hatred, it was in that moment. So a year or so went by, and South Carolina was recruiting me some other schools, and my first year at Carolina was our first year in the SEC. So I wanted to go up against Florida and Georgia in the SEC schools. Well, when I signed early with South Carolina in the fall, a week later, I believe is what it was, and the phone rang, and my mom said, hey, telephone. And I answered the phone, and it was the coach at North Carolina. And he said, Joey, I've got great news. I want you to come play for Carolina. And I responded, Coach, I'm playing for Carolina. And he went, great. And I said, South Carolina, and slammed the phone down on him. One of the greatest moments of retribution ever. I don't know if I would advise that now being 50, but man, it's good at 17 or 18.
Well, it is nice to hear when you say Carolina, I know which one you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So it is, that's an incredible story. We had a couple weeks ago, we had a friend of mine who is now the head women's coach at the University of North Carolina. She played at Michigan State, and we got to know her through another friend. But yeah, now she's the head coach at North Carolina for the women's team. And so yeah, don't hold it against her.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends who are Tar Heels, but I'm quick to tell them it's Carolina, even though I'm on the north side of the line.
Yeah, big game, football game, first of the year, North and South Carolina playing.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. It'll be a good one. So what was it like playing for Carolina? What was college golf like?
So I still dream about college golf. It was really, really, really special. Didn't have the success I wanted, the success I hoped for, but it was still wonderful. Made good friends. Right after my sophomore year, my heart and my passion changed. Golf was so important to me, and then it wasn't as important to me because the Lord became so much more important to me at that time. And so things changed a little bit those last couple of years, but it was still just a wonderful, wonderful time, wonderful to play for Carolina. Love the fact that I'm a letterman there, and still keep in consistent contact with our current coach at Carolina, and follow the boys who play now. And yeah, it's pretty special.
That's great.
You mentioned earlier before we started recording all this about how you had hit a hole in one at the Cradle. Do you have a favorite
you like one of your best golf shots while you were playing at USC?
So I have shared this before. The two best shots I've ever hit. One was with an AR-15 in a little scramble fundraiser kind of tournament. And I don't know if you guys know this, but you can hire this company and they'll come out with an AR-15, and you actually shoot a golf ball with the AR-15.
What?
And they can put a governor on it and can make it go a certain distance.
Wait, hold on. You don't shoot a golf ball with a bullet from an AR-15. You shoot a golf ball out of an AR-15.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that helps.
I was like, man, that's some
how did you,
good skeet
throw it
shooting
up
there.
and trick shot it or something?
Oh
like
yeah,
that?
I got to. Yeah,
I was like, that's amazing.
No, so you put a ball in. They've got this barrel, special made barrel with charge, and the golf ball comes out of the end of the barrel.
All right.
And I shot it it's like 400 and something yards, and I shot it to like 4 feet. So that's the best shot I've ever hit.
If I could pause for a second, that might be the most Southern thing I've ever heard in my life. That you can get a gun to shoot your golf ball out of. For those of you in the North, this is not abnormal for guns and golf to come together. But go ahead, you've got another shot.
Guns and golf balls. No, you should look it up. It's pretty great. Now they improved the technology, so they have a air compressor, and you're holding it like you're shooting some big military gun, and bam, and it comes out low and just flies and goes forever and ever and ever. So it's pretty great when you get a chance to do it. But the best shot I hit at Carolina was also in a fundraiser for our athletic department. And it was at Northwoods in Columbia.
Yep.
On the, 10, 11, 12, 13th hole, the par 4 along the water.
Yep.
We had to hit it off of a toilet seat. And I hit a driver to a foot on 13 from a toilet seat. So the answer to the question is, what was your shot you remember the most at Carolina? It was that one.
Never mind. The most Southern thing I've ever heard of in golf is hitting a golf ball off a toilet seat. How do you put a tee down? Like, is it just like, I'm trying to figure out the mechanics of putting a ball.
You tee it up like you would normally would, but you just have to be seated when you hit it.
Oh,
yeah. It was
that's impressive. That's
impressive.
A great hole for trying to drive the green anyway, but sitting on a toilet, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty great. There was a lot of adult beverages on the golf course that day, and so there was many of an alumni who found his way off of that toilet seat during the swing.
Yes. We mentioned before you were good friends with Wayne Ridgway and the guys. I think Marcus and David and others that we've had on before. So give us your best Wayne Ridgway story as it relates to golf. You played a lot of golf with those guys?
Oh yeah, I have. It's been a long time because as a pastor and my commitment to Sundays and being around, I was limited on the number of trips that I could go on because of my responsibilities, and it was always seemed to be around Easter when we used to go. But I think probably it's not a story. It was just part of his equipment. So Junior had a deep love for a TaylorMade Nubbins putter. I don't know if y'all remember that putter. It's orange face, got little
like an old school basketball.
Yeah, that's an
outdoor basketball, not a good indoor one. The outdoor one.
That is a great way to look at it. And if he ever did get it to the hole, it was not often, because the face is just so soft on that thing, and he would never get rid of it. And I know he doesn't putt with it anymore, because I played with him some recently, and he doesn't have it anymore. But Yeah, Wayne's gotten a lot better in his game, that's for sure. And he's just a dear, precious friend to me.
He's still got old Sammy, his loft wedge or whatever he's got. He said, all right, we're going with Sammy here. But and you say you were roommates with Stephen Dinkins as well. Have you gotten over to play with him in Africa yet?
No, but he and I have been talking about an opportunity to come over and do some teaching and use that as a platform to share the good news of Jesus. So hopefully that'll come together. I'd love to go over and spend some time with him and Sarah.
Yeah, they've got a great thing going there. So it's funny. When I was at Carolina, I was a sports administration, sport business major, and did an internship at Myrtle Beach Golf Holiday. And in the office, we had a Nubbins putter. And I think one of the guys was big in NASCAR or something. And somehow we coined the phrase, and maybe that was, I don't know, a phrase they already used, but they said Rubbin's racing and Nubbins is putting.
I had a feeling that's where you were going with it. That's great, man.
Nubbins putting. So
well, that may be a good retirement gift for Wayne. I'll find one of those and have it restored and give it to him.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned earlier golf clubs for kids, something you and your son are doing. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So last summer, actually last spring of 22, we applied for a 501c3, and we've got a little charitable organization now called Golf Clubs for Kids, where we provide golf clubs and equipment to first-time middle school and high school kids who want to try out for their school's team. There's a little bit of an interest there, and but they don't have the clubs, they don't have the equipment. No one in their family has played. They've never really been around it, but they want to try it. And so we find out from them or their parents or from the school that they want to try out. And so we get them set up. All they have to do is serve 90 minutes of volunteering to their school or church or other organization. And then once they turn that paperwork into us, we fit them with full set, shoes, balls, gloves, the works.
That's awesome. So are these donated clubs? You have partnerships with manufacturers? How does that work?
Yeah, so it kind of, the way it got started, so I'm no longer pastoring right now. Planted a church in 2016 here in my area, a little place called Belmont, and was pastoring it up until 2021. February of 2021, I was in a really bad car accident. A lot of head trauma, all that kind of stuff, to which I still have some issues. But during my recovery, I was kind of grounded, if you will. Couldn't go outside, couldn't look. The sun would mess me up and all that kind of stuff. So I started, once they said I could start looking at screens again, I started buying and selling clubs, and just to give me something to do, work my mind. And that led to, hey, my neighbor wants to try out for golf. Do you have any clubs? Or, hey, my son is thinking about playing. Is there anything you could do for him? And out of that birthed this idea. And so far it's been great. We've upfitted almost 20 kids. Our focal area is 5 counties around us, and we're now starting to get inquiries from outside that circle. So our hope, our prayer is that it'll go statewide in both Carolinas, and we can really get some kids fitted and get them introduced to the game.
That's great. We interviewed a couple weeks ago 2 girls, Sarah and Macy Kay from Meredith College, that they stepped up because their college team needed two more golfers for the girls golf team, and neither one of them had played, and so they both joined the team. I had to figure out how to get clubs, join the team. Yeah. And anyway, it was a fun podcast for us. They actually have started their own little podcast, but that's a cool thing. So is there a website or anything that people could go to?
So at the moment, we just have a Facebook presence, and we're in the works of developing a website and being able to get people connected that way. But we're on Facebook, so we have a Facebook presence, and that's the easiest way to find us and easiest way to communicate to us. Yeah.
Okay. and it's golf clubs for kids, right? So we'll put a link to the Facebook page in the show notes. So check that out, and we'll point you that direction. So that is really cool. Glad y'all are doing that.
Yeah, it's been great.
Now, you're a part of another ministry as well, golf related, I believe, called Links Players. What does that look like, or what are you doing with that?
Yeah, so that was an opportunity that came about a year ago, actually. I was still recovering from the accident, and a dear friend of mine who oversees the Southeast for Links Players, a guy named Dennis Darville, asked me to come on board with Links in January of this year, of 2023. Doctors released me to work again, and so that led to coming on board with Links Players as area director of the Carolinas. And Links Players actually came out of the PGA Tour Bible study in the late 70s. Wally Armstrong, Bill Rogers. Rogers was the 1981 Player of the Year on the PGA Tour, won the British Open that year, or the Open that year. And so Links is just a fantastic missional organization. Came out of Southern California and is slowly matriculated across the U.S. and now we're being able to work the Carolinas.
So what do you guys do? What is the I think they're groups or huddles, or you meet at clubhouses and things like that. Like what keeps you busy? What the ministry look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the goal of Links Players is to help Christian golfers, both men and women, change the conversation at their golf club or golf course. As believers and as followers of Christ, we're connected to the local church. And when we go through hardship, and when we go through difficulties, the church, our brothers and sisters, kind of rally around us, right? Well, the member of the club, the guy at the club who is going through the same kind of things, but is not a follower of Christ, who's going to rally around him? And so Links equips these Christian golfers on how to talk about life and to talk the game and talk scripture with folks. And the primary platform for that is what we call fellowships. So it's not Bible studies, but it's fellowships. And so fellowships meet on a regular basis at their club and gather together for 45 minutes to an hour. And if it's in the mornings, they'll have a biscuit and coffee and talk life and talk what took place over the weekend on the LPGA or PGA Tour, or, you know, who won on Saturday during the dog fight, or, you know, things like that. But it's an amazing ministry that helps people see people need hope, and normally the folks that need hope are not necessarily going to go looking for it at a church on a Sunday morning. So this equips these golfers to reach other golfers to help them see that there can be hope in this world. There can be hope in this life. And so Links tries to do that.
Is that something that started off just an individual who might be interested? Is that maybe if there's a clubhouse or a course that wants to start up something like this on their own? How does that typically get going at a particular location?
Yeah, Jonathan, that's good. So for years now, somebody finds out about Links, and then they will reach out to Links Players, and then that kind of gets things going. Now that I'm in the Carolinas, I'm reaching out to clubs, and I'm reaching out to pastors and saying, "Hey, who are some of the golfers at your church, and where do they play?" And with the hopes of the more fellowships there are, the more opportunity for others to understand what hope really is, and that life can be totally different in a good way. So it's going both ways now. It's not just being pursued, but it's being the pursuer, and it's been great. You know, I've only been on the job since March, and we've got 18 fellowships in the Carolinas currently, from Bluffton, Hilton Head, Myrtle Beach, up to the eastern part of North Carolina, and into the mountains, all the way up into the upstate of South Carolina. So, yeah, so it's both ways now, but it will be predominantly they'll reach out, and then I'll work with those folks who are interested in starting a fellowship, get them trained and equipped, and then help them get launched.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Y'all do what does the golf piece of that look like? I mean, do they say, hey, let's host a little tournament at our club and try to get people just to at least hear what we're doing, or is it really just the word of mouth thing? Do y'all bring the golf piece of that in, besides just, hey, let's meet them at the golf course?
Yeah, so every fellowship is different, based on the club, the receptivity of the club. We just started a fellowship 6 weeks ago at a driving range, and so what we're seeing is fellowships that get to a good start, to kind of get launched, if you will, is word of mouth. It's, hey, we're getting together Thursday morning at 7:30, in the Nicholas room, and we're going to have a biscuit and coffee, and you're going to talk about life, and then those who can, we're going to go play right afterwards. And so golf is an integral part of Links, and I've often said, there's two things, and I'll ask you guys, what are the two most favorite things of a golfer? Take it. What's your thoughts? Obviously, everybody wants to make an ace. We all want to make a hole-in-one. We all want to break our low down, but the two things that golfers love the most.
Well, what we're doing right now, right? Telling stories about golf and hanging out with your friends. That's
a good one.
Yeah.
Well, Robby, what do you think?
He took my answer. I was going to say just the fellowship, right? Who you get to be with, and the lessons you can learn, because you're always trying to get better. Right.
So both of your answers would tie into, so number one is free golf. Golfers love free golf. And two, we love free food. So we love free golf and we love free food. And so what fellowships are doing is the men and the women of these fellowships are inviting somebody from the club to say, hey, let's go play. Cart fees on me. We'll grab lunch afterwards. And then I want to invite you to be a part of our Links Fellowship that meets every other week or every month or every week.
Yeah, it reminds me of Promise Keepers, Theology on Tap. It's just, right? It's just another safe place that, like you said, people are dealing with life, good, bad, and the ugly. And so just continue to make those relationship connections wherever you can. That's really cool. That's a unique way to think about one more place that we can be plugged in. That, well, actually, we already are plugged in from playing local golf and stuff, and then just doing what we're supposed to do, which is bring Jesus into the conversation when we can.
Absolutely. And so that's what Links tries to do. That's what the tagline for the ministry is, helping golfers change the conversation at their club. So so you're right on line with that. Well,
we were talking about the Cradle earlier, just one of the all-time great little par 3 courses. Jonathan and I have been talking nonstop, it seems, for the last couple of weeks about the par 3 course that we are going to build in Augusta. Right. So we'll go ahead and say in our clubhouse there will be a spot for Links players to meet. You'll have to cross into Georgia just a hair, but yeah, I mean that. Yeah,
let's break ground.
Let's do it.
When are y'all breaking ground? I'll put the first $5 of seed money toward the par 3 club.
If you got some extra zeros, that'd be great. But yeah,
so I say, instead of zeros, I say commas. I love commas when it comes to finances.
There's Absolutely. 2 to 3 commas involved in this one.
Yeah, there is. Right.
Yep. No, we would love to build a something like the Cradle, something to where people can hang out. Obviously, during the Masters, like that 2-week period of the Masters, the Anwa, everything surrounding that, like golf world comes to Augusta area. But I mean, there's people out there that would be there anyway. So it'd be something fun.
What a great game.
It is a great game.
I mean, what a great game, and everything that it provides, and like you guys were saying, the fellowship. I mean, I've played golf with a guy who was 100 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy, you know. And dinking it all the way down the fairway. But,
and they beat you every time.
Oh yeah. I'll hit it far, but it's going left.
Yes. Well, if it's going left, that's better than it's going to go one or the other way. So
right.
Well, we always do. You mentioned you've listened to at least one of the podcasts. We do a quick 9, so kind of a rapid fire questions. You can expound on your answer, but we'll get into this. So, what is the favorite course? You played college golf. Did you play some pro golf as well?
I played professionally for about 6 months, mini tours, and just realized I wasn't good enough.
Okay. That wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. The question I was getting to, sort of, what is the favorite course of all that you've played?
Oh man. So in March, I was fortunate enough to play the Tradition Golf Club, which is in La Quinta. It is described as Arnold Palmer's Bay Hill of the West Coast.
Okay.
And it is, I played in USGA stuff and played some really good golf courses over the years, but this place was just on another level. Just the condition, the scenery, and then the history of that place was just incredible. And I'm hoping I get to play it again. I will share with y'all a video. So the Tradition, you can go to their website online and you can see some of the pictures, but it's on the base of this mountain out in Palm Desert. And there are bighorn sheep up in the mountains. You can see them walking on the rocks and stuff. Well, the day I played, we saw bighorn sheep. And the member of the club who we got to play with played it 2 days later and sent a video, and it was these 2 bighorn sheep going at it, like 20 feet from a green. And it was the most surreal thing. The impact of these guys was crazy, but such a good golf course, so much good story. But I would say the Tradition Golf Club in La Quinta.
Did you? I'm sure Steven sent you this. Did he send you the video of the giraffe right behind him teeing off?
And it's just amazing, man.
Yeah,
the things you get to see is just another reason why the game's so great.
Yep.
Earlier, you'd mentioned you and your son had holes in one at the Cradle up there at Pinehurst. How many holes in one have you had?
I've only had 2. And my first was in the late 90s, I think 1998, at a small golf course in town that's now a high school. They sold to school and built a school there. And it was 140-yard shot, pitching wedge, and didn't see it go in, but they said it spun back, and there was folks on the hill getting ready to tee off, and they got all excited. And so that was my first one. And I've been close all kind of different times, but only two. I've got 1 double eagle and 2 aces. So I'm hoping to increase those numbers this year, but so far, not so much.
You know what they say, Jonathan, if the course no longer exists, the hole-in-one's gone too.
Is that right?
I don't know who they are, but they are
they are wrong.
You'll keep it no matter what.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. So you being a good golfer, what is the best score you've ever shot?
The lowest score was actually the day I made that ace. I shot 61 with an ace, and then and that was just like in a little choose 'em Saturday deal.
Yeah.
And then my lowest competitive was 66, and I always wanted to try to break 65 and break 61. Those days are gone now, but but yeah, I was tickled to be able to post those way back when.
That's
You
incredible.
being a good golfer probably also know that sometimes golf bites back.
Yes.
What is your worst competitive score?
Oh gosh. Oh yeah. Okay. So it may not be the worst competitive score, but it's probably the most memorable. And it was at Kiowa down in the low country of South Carolina. And it was at Turtle Point. I don't know. Have y'all played Turtle Point?
I have not.
Okay. So somewhere around the 14th hole is parallel to the ocean, par 4. And it was during the Carolinas Am when I was in college. And I played a high draw back then, and I still draw it, but it's more now of a low hook. And so I hit my tee ball, wind coming off the ocean, and it bounced off a condo to the right, out of bounds. Back then, my temper was pretty much a thing, and so I grabbed the ball, put the peg in the ground, and right again, and jerked the bag, got another ball. I think I hit it out of bounds a third time. And then I hit like a 7-iron and a 7-iron. And long story short, I made 14 on the hole, par 4, out of the tournament. This is the first round. And I think I posted 87, 88, 89, something like that. I mean, just awful.
Well, you posted 87 after a 14. That's not that bad.
Yeah. That 14 though, I couldn't tell you what I did on the other hole, but I sure do remember what I did on that. Well, the next day, I hit 7-iron to a foot, made birdie.
Oh, jeez.
And so this, back then, the CGA would post hole by hole scores, right? Day 1, day 2. And at that time, the director of the CGA, Carolinas Golf Association, was Hale B. Van Hoy, a short statured guy, kind of a heavy set guy. And he would kind of rest his arms on his belly. And he was looking up at the scoreboard, and he went, "Denton, come here." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "How in the world does a guy make 2 touchdowns in one day and a field goal the next day?" I said, "Hale, I don't know, but I'm going back home. It's time to go." So I think that was probably the worst competitive round, something in the upper 80s.
Oh, man.
Man,
2 touchdowns and a field goal. That's a great way to describe a golf hole.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, you mentioned the nicest course or your favorite course that you played. Is there a course out there? I'm sure there is. What course do you want to play? Like top of the bucket list, like maybe it's Augusta like everybody else says, or maybe you've played that one. I don't know.
Yeah, so
being
Augusta,
in South Carolina, you might have played that one.
Yeah, so Augusta is in a list of its own, right?
Yep.
So I would love to play Augusta National, and I don't pray every day for that, but the Lord has heard me say that to Him more than once. So I would love to play Augusta National. Probably outside of National, it would be Pebble or St. Andrews. One of the courses that's just got tons of history. Pine Valley, one of those would be really special to play and see what you could do from there.
Yeah, seems like you were on the USC golf team before Hootie Johnson was the chairman and invited the Gamecocks down to play a few times. So what would have been my senior year, Puggy Blackman came in as coach from Georgia Tech, who coached Duval and Charlie Reimer, Stuart Sink, all these guys, and just thoroughbreds, man, just great players, great program. And I was over the moon excited to play, but it ended up not playing for Puggy. And it was soon after that they started going on occasion to get to play Augusta National. So if I'd have known that early in my freshman and sophomore year, I'd have flunked intentionally some classes in order to be a six-year shirt.
senior.
Yeah.
Red shirt, medical red shirt, whatever I could do to stick around to play it. That would have been amazing.
That would have been great.
playing at the college level, who's the best golfer that you've ever played against? Maybe before they're
like
dead.
in the same field or head to head?
Oh, we'll take same field. I mean, if you're
Okay.
on the same golf course, I'd take that.
Yeah. Yeah. So probably David Duval. He Georgia Tech and us were at the East Regionals for the NCAA championship at University of Virginia in Charlottesville. And so David, I didn't play in the same, we weren't paired with Georgia Tech, but they were a group ahead or a group in front. So Duval was just a couple of groups away, and you know, he was just dominant back then, just an incredible player. But one of my teammates, Carl Paulson, Carl was a great player. Had a very successful PGA Tour career. He's got he's on Sirius XM now. I'm sure you guys know that name. Had the lead going to the back nine on Sunday at the Players several years ago, the year that Craig Perks chipped in a couple times toward the end. But Carl was a really, really, really good player too.
Yep. We interviewed Matt Adams. You know, somehow we were able to interview him, and he talked about his friendship with Carl, and I think they all got back together that week. We interviewed them they were covering the Wells Fargo, Jonathan, I think. So, yep. Do you have a favorite pro golfer, all time or current, or maybe either?
Yeah. So all time, Nicklaus. I'm a Nicklaus loyalist. So when in '86 when he won the Masters, so back then there were commercials, and so following him, you know, because if you go back to the broadcast that day, which you can pull it up on YouTube, they really weren't showing him until he got to the back nine, you know, and he made that charge. So I remember watching it, and during the commercial, I would run outside. There was this field next to our house is where I hit balls, and I would go and try to emulate the shot he just hit, and I would run back in and watch and commercial, and I'd go back outside. But Nicklaus, I mean, the '86 Masters was a highly influential moment for me. So I was 13 at the time, and then it was then where I decided I want to play professional golf, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to become a pro golfer one day. So Nicklaus, I'm a loyalist. Today, I enjoy watching Jordan play, Jordan Spieth. I pull for my brothers in Christ, so Scotty Scheffler, Sam Burns, Russ Henley, those guys, pulling hard, you know, for them. And I'm also a Ricky fan. I was pulling hard for Ricky yesterday, which was the final round of the U.S. Open, hoping he would come through, or Scotty would come through. But yeah, I enjoy watching those guys play, and I'm grateful for their faith in Christ.
Yeah.
Well, you had a chance to list a couple names there. If you had to pick your foursome, doesn't have to be a golfer, it can really be anybody, who would be the other three?
So my dad would definitely be in the pairing. Nicklaus would definitely be in the pairing, and I'd probably request from the starter that we could play a fivesome, and it would be my sons. Yeah,
that's a good group.
Yeah. So
it's a better option than picking one of them.
That's right. Yeah.
Especially if Nicklaus is coming around too.
Yeah. Sorry, other son, Nicklaus took your spot.
Yeah. No doubt.
You can play like closest to the hole to see which one gets to come be a part of the day.
That's right.
Like, don't embarrass me out here. Which one of you is going to shoot the basketball?
Yeah. But what was it? Not too long ago, there was some professional tournament, maybe like AA ball, that had a chip off because of darkness. I read that somewhere. So, which I thought was pretty interesting. We're going to chip off to see who wins this check.
Yeah, we're going to throw a tee in the air. Whoever points to wins.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
All right. Well, our final question in our quick nine. You've coached, you've played. What is the advice, best advice that you would give to new players, young players, as they're trying to learn how to play golf?
Yeah, that's a great question, Robbie. So, um, so when I teach and I'm working with someone who's new to the game, we just camp out on the fundamentals. And so a little bit of my teaching style is Nicholas and Harvey Pinnock, and kind of blend those two together a little bit, and then my own take on some things. But grip, setup, swing. Grip, setup, swing. And so too often as golfers, when we hit a poor shot or we hit consecutive poor shots, there's something wrong with my swing. And 9.5 times out of 10, the swing is club's going to go where it goes pretty regular, but it's probably grip, or it's probably alignment, ball position, posture. And if those two are good, then all right, there's something going on with the swing. And so teach fundamentally a good grip, a grip that releases, a grip that's got good grip pressure, and then proper ball position, proper balance, proper alignment, knowing how to aim, that kind of thing. So that's why I say Nicholas, because Nicholas taught and played this way, but he would aim, he would pick something from his ball to his target where he wanted the ball to start, and then something 2, 3, 4 feet in front of that, he would aim the club face at that, and then square up to whatever that was. And I've done it since I was 13. So I would, understand what a good grip is, proper grip, understand good setup, good posture, alignment, ball position, and then, swing it. Figure out where it goes. I picked this up from somebody. It's not original, but your hands are a car, and up here's the garage. Put the car in the garage, and then put the car in the garage, and teach full swing. Club head speed is really important. So when I work with someone today, I start them out on grip, then we look at setup, then we start talking swing down the line.
Well, probably gonna have to book a lesson whenever we get a chance to go out. Maybe I can start hitting a golf ball better. But
yeah. Well, Joey, the next time y'all have media credentials at Pinehurst,
that's right. Well, Robby had media,
or something.
Robby had media credentials at Pinehurst. I got to join from my house while he was there sitting in the clubhouse. So, Joey, really appreciate you taking the time out. Great stories just in terms of your golf game, where you're going with ministry, that kind of stuff. Listener, make sure to pay attention. We'll include in the links there for linksplayers.com. If you're interested in seeing how your mission can be lived out on the golf course, make sure to get in touch, and Joey will help you out with that. And then also golf clubs for kids. Make sure to find them on Facebook. We'll include them in the links in the show as well. For Robby, I'm Jonathan. Joey, again, thanks so much for taking the time out. Really appreciate it.
Joey, thanks, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Yeah, man. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, we're back. Really appreciate Joey. We pre-recorded this knowing that Jonathan on the early stages of his travel, and he's jet lagged. It's like 5:30 in the morning where he is right now, even though it's daylight.
It's 5:30.
5:30. That's crazy. So anyway, we appreciate Joey being a part of the show. They've got a great thing going on with Links Ministries, or Links Players. I'm sorry. It's a golf ministry. Jonathan, I mean, like you mentioned before, like if you've got a course and you want to get guys involved at your course, that's a great way to do it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, relationships are coming naturally already. And so to find another space and place that you can make sure you're connecting. Plus, if you're really interested, guys, it might be a good excuse for your wife to let you go play golf. You're like, listen, babe, like we're going to do some guy talk and hang out beforehand, make sure that everyone's checked up in terms of how life's really going. And then we're also going to play golf. So I'll be back in 6 hours instead of 5 hours, but maybe she'll let you go this time.
Yeah, no, it's great, exciting what he's got going on, and I think, like you mentioned, as we keyed him in, he is a former Gamecock, and just the story about how he got to South Carolina, and the other offers that came late. That was pretty funny. So anyway, we appreciate Joey for being a part of the show.
Well, I'm probably going to go back to bed now. It's 5:30 in the morning, as Robby mentioned, and there's a little bit of jet lag for traveling across the world. But for the Whole Story podcast, we appreciate the listener checking us out, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.